Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 2024 meeting of the Southern Fried DNN User Group. It has been quite a stretch since I've been able to reliably attend, and I miss everyone. I catch videos here every once in a while, and I catch community buzz, and I think how much I've been missing by not being able to be here on a SoFri night. So I'm thrilled to be here as David is going to be presenting good information here as our main presenter. And I'm really here just to support a little bit and give some introductions to kick it off. So as
Oh, he froze.
Oh,
Yep, yep, that's a freeze.
yeah, that happened exactly when I hit mute, and I thought somehow I did it.
Yeah, you broke everything.
It's all
That
your
would be
fault,
my job.
Jeremy.
I
I
always think
break
it's
the
my
things.
internet.
I
Yeah, I
touch the
thought
thing,
it-
I break the thing.
2025. So that is
Ryan,
happening. Yes, sir.
Ryan, you just now came back. You've been gone the whole time. So
About a minute,
yeah,
at least a
yeah,
minute.
you froze. So you may want to repeat what you were saying because we didn't hear.
Is he though? He could have been abducted.
That looks like he's frozen again. Yeah.
Here's what I'm drinking tonight.
Oh, red hot.
Oof.
Well, there.
He's not back yet.
I tell you what.
Hey, he's back. Welcome
Yeah.
back.
I have the most lovely internet connection until what? When I need it? That's just fantastic.
You're back now.
I see, yeah. I sport about 800 down in the daytime. It's
Oh my goodness.
And he's
Yeah,
frozen
it's
again.
gonna be like 4 hours meeting like this.
I tell you what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just stop his screen share and I'll pinch hit here for it. Anybody feel free to chime in if there are things that I missed that needs to be highlighted in the community. I think what Ryan was trying to do was talk a little bit about DNN Summit. So let me pull that up.
Thank you, David.
And oh,
way to pick.
Wow.
and he's frozen again. So for those that didn't know, if you've been living under a rock or just haven't noticed what's going on, DNN Summit is set for February the 3rd and the 4th of 2025 in the beautiful Las Vegas, and also virtual. So if you can't make it out to Vegas, then feel free to join online. It's a virtual event. And so, yay, finally, after, let's see, the last time was what, 2020?
2020.
2020, yeah.
Those.
2020, yeah. I think it was February of 2020 in Orlando, right? That's the last time we were actually in person. So, yeah, back in person. And Ryan, you can feel free to try to chime in. It seems like every time you start to talk, it freezes. So,
yeah, I just realized I was still on a VPN, so I dropped that, and I think I'm better now.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I can stop sharing. You can share if you'd like.
I'll try and pick it up again. If problems, I apologize.
All right, no worries.
Pre-apology if needed. But yeah, to David's point, we have the opportunity to be in person again, and it's been a while since we've been in person, but it will be fully online as well. So at any DNN Summit event and many of the community events we've had over the past 10 plus years, 50% of the attendants, it's their first time to a DNN community event. That has been a consistent thing at every DNN Summit event and at the previous DNN cons and events like that. So we know that we are getting ready to celebrate with and host a lot of creative learning and training and informational sessions, both in person and online, for plenty of regulars, and 50% of the audience will be brand new folks. So I encourage you, if you're part of the DNN community, if you're here with us in SoFri, come join up and come see us all and communicate with the rest of the community at DNN Summit. It's going to be a grand time. So some specific things to mention. Number one, It is early bird registration time. We still have early bird ticket pricing for both online and in person. So there are your different costs based on whether you're going to be doing strictly online or you're going to be doing in person. But those early bird rates still continue now until actually, when do the early bird rates end? David, I switched screens. I got to look back to it.
I think
Early
it's
bird
November
ends
22.
November 22. Yes, thank you. So we still have a few months of early bird registration, which is fantastic opportunity to buy these tickets now. The other thing that's open is the hotel block registration, because if you are coming in person, we are at a specific location. And one of the things that is important to do is to buy your ticket within our room block. The event is being held at the Cosmopolitan. You can browse the website to learn some more things about it and the place. But if you're not familiar with how conferences go for something like this, it's kind of like a game of spades. We have to bet, or we have to mark how many people, how many room block rooms we're going to have to help pay for the conference and pay for our space there at this location. So if you are coming, you will immensely help out the community events and help out DNN Summit if you book within our room block. I know there are other hotels that you can stay in. This is Vegas after all. But I'd highly encourage you, if you want to support the community events and help make more events like this happen in the future, purchase your time within our room block so that we fully get counted for all of the people that we're bringing in for this conference. So there's information and links for that here on the SoFri site underneath of the venue specific page. Now, the other thing to mention is that the speakers and session schedule has been put out, and I've got messages there for then 2 more groups of people. Obviously, for you attendees, take a look at what's being presented. Take a look at the speakers, take a look at the topics, and start thinking about the events that you want to go to and that you're looking forward to listening to. Remember that regardless of whether you are there in person or you're online, these are all going to be fully recorded. So just like we have in the past within the hop-in system, they'll be fully recorded, and you'll have the ability to watch any of these recordings up to 1 year until the next DNN Summit. So that's both encouragement for you to decide to come and to pay in person or online, because you'll be able to watch all of the sessions, not just the ones you can make to watch at the time. It's also a reminder to everyone who participated in DNN Summit 2024 this past February. Time is ticking on how long you have access to those videos. So you'll want to go back and watch and take notes on any of those items you thought were awesome, or any of the ones that you missed that you want to rewatch. This is the time to go watch those over the next few months, because come February 25, we'll lose access to the old ones while we start recording and presenting the new ones. The last thing to mention there for groups of people is the speakers themselves. Mitch Sellers is the one who runs the Sessionize system. The Sessionize system is where you sign up for and pitch your sessions. Emails have been sent out from that system asking you to confirm based on the accepted list of schedule. So everyone who has been accepted as a speaker, please remember that you need to look for that email, go back into the Sessionize system and confirm your date and time for your assigned spot for your session. But then there's also information there for your room block, because this year DNN Summit is covering the room for speakers, and that's a major benefit that you want to make sure you pay attention to, and there's some specific instructions around that have been emailed out to your Sessionize related email address. Okay, that's a long stretch of things that I finally was able to say without interruption of my internet connection. Are there any questions, or David, anything else you can think to suggest that we should mention for DNN Summit 25?
I think the schedule is out there as well if you want to kind of get a lay of the land on what's happening on what days. And Alessandro, you always get beat out, to be the first on the speaker list because Aaron's name is AA. So that's a tough one.
It's like every single day of my life. I always be the first one in list. Now I have Aaron and my husband is Alan also gets in like, what is this? I don't like it.
It's tough. But no, the schedule's out there so you can at least kind of see what the plans are there. Maybe start planning out your event there too, whether you're online or in person. It is
That's
starting
right.
a little early, so somebody's gonna have to wake me up. I'll just say that.
It is starting a little bit early.
We have to get there 2 weeks before to acclimatize with the time.
Exactly.
Plenty of SoFri faces there in the schedule, plenty of previous DNN Summit speakers and presenters, plenty of new folks as well. So it's going to be a good list. Look through those and see what you think. Okay, so then I've mentioned tickets, I've mentioned items. Let's go to some other DNN related things, and then we'll pass it over to our presenter for the evening. There was a recent release for DNN version 9.13.4 that came out just a few days ago in the month. This is something where there are plenty of new updates and contributions as normal from a list of fantastic folks who are putting their time in from the community to submit updates, fixes, additions, and march us forward in versions. Daniel, is there anything you want to mention about this specific release? David, you were also involved. Anything you want to point out or mention? Otherwise, we mentioned that always upgrading to the newest version helps keep you in good shape, but also helps the community over.
So it's a patch release, so it's mainly bug fixes, dependency updates. If you scroll up, they're categorized. I don't remember there was anything new. Enhancements, navigation for, yeah, so performance enhancements for navigating in the resource manager. It adds sorting for roles in the persona bar. It exposes the module ID, so you can see it from right there without having to go to the console.
Sorting in the recycle bin was a good one too.
Yeah, also. And added locks and calls to compute hash to handle concurrency. It's a performance enhancement. So yeah, nothing crazy there. Bug fixes, little improvements, and a lot of dependency updates.
When we talk about DNN being a platform that receives regular releases, it's things like this that I mentioned to clients and to IT administrators for the clients where we build and manage sites inside of DNN, and they ask us about the age of DNN and the state of DNN, and it's regular releases with small enhancements and improvements like this that I tout as being a fantastic show of a system that keeps getting tweaks and improvements, and it's always appreciated. I asked David if in one of the SoFri meetings that I'd missed, if we had talked about the updated release for a forums module. We might have mentioned it, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again. It's something that I paid attention to last month, which occurred, I think, a couple months before that. But the old original active forums was extremely popular within the DNN ecosystem. And there were plenty of users who worked within that as their primary forum module. That later then translated into one that was brought into the community. And this was, I think, a major release of the newer updated version of this, now branded as the community forums. And I'll pass again to the same kind of things. Daniel, are there notes or suggestions or things you want to describe around this? But I did want to point out to everyone that they should go check this out, that this is the latest release for this, and there have been plenty of updates to it.
I don't think Daniel's really involved too much in that project there.
Yeah.
That would probably be more of a question for Will or John Henley, who is
folks who are not present. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
there's a new version.
It is something to celebrate. It's a new version. If you were holding on an older version for any number of reasons, then you've got a modern update that you make. Last piece I'll mention in announcements is just a small note that I plan to put together from myself a few blog posts. There's nothing grandiose. There's nothing that's a eureka kind of moment or epiphany kind of bit of information to share. But I'll mention that recently, this summer forward, I've been moved to talk with clients and with DNN community folks just about the state of things today and combating assumptions and things that I hear from IT administrators and that they hear from their end clients or their colleagues. I'll just mention to look for it. I'm going to keep posting out a few blog posts, one a month or so, where I am responding to or replying to direct misconceptions or assumptions that I hear from DNN users or from the community, where they'll say things like, well, DNN is 20 years old and it's getting older every day. Well, so is WordPress. WordPress was released. The very first version of WordPress was released when DNN 3 was being released. So it's also just as old, and you don't hear people talking about how old WordPress is. You don't expect that other CMS systems are actually running on the same version that they had 20 years ago. So these are articles that I intend to use, honestly, for my own purposes, to point IT administrators and people to things like the DNN Community website to understand points about why they should consider, why they shouldn't just accept the idea that they have an older system in DNN and they want to migrate to some other platform or some other system. I give them points to discuss with their teams so that they'll understand. I think the thing that triggered this for me was an IT administrator said that his brand new marketing director was insisting that they move their enormous website from DNN over to WordPress because that's what the new marketing director knew how to use and loved. And his description was, I'm tired of arguing with them. I'm going to let them do it and then crash and burn, and then we'll turn back on the DNN website after they've had a foray into a mess of WordPress. And that frustrates me. It's understandable. I understand why he said that, but I wanted to create something that everyone can use as responses for intelligent conversation about why throwing away your established, invested in DNN instance isn't something you should do as a knee-jerk reaction. Age doesn't equate obsolescence. DNN is getting updated by little things every single day when we have new releases. There are endlessly flexible ways to integrate new features, new functionality, and new technology. My stance that I finish with is that we are proud to support DNN as a primary application development platform. We're not considering changing, and we'd like to make sure everyone else has better things to consider as well. So go out there and read this. If you find it useful, please share it with anyone that it can be useful to. And if it is something where you have some suggestions on things I should add into future ones, please reach out to me. I'm looking forward to writing several more of these.
That's great, Ryan. We were just surprised just this week with a client that said, "Oh, by the way, we're launching a new, our new website. We need to work out a transition plan for you." "Oh, really? What are you doing?" "Oh, yeah, we're launching a new site." Blah, blah, blah. "Okay, cool. No problem." And they're asking us how to transition, right? And we're like, "Well, I mean, tell us a little bit about the website. What are you doing?" And so you find out that it's WordPress, and they don't really, I don't really want to bash WordPress or anything like that. It's not really about that. It's just that there's a lot of decisions being made that aren't really, they're more ignorant than anything else. Like they really just don't know. They're just wanting a new design or something. And WordPress happens to be the tool, just like it would be for us if somebody came, we would use DNN, right? For good reasons, but the client wouldn't necessarily be a part of that decision a lot of times. So a lot of times it's out of ignorance, but then it's kind of too late, right? To have the conversations, and it's like it becomes a sensitive thing. So this is really great content. I think we need more of it, this kind of thing, be talking about it, because it pays to know kind of what you're getting yourself into at times, whether that's
If
WordPress or
nothing,
something else, or coming to
yeah,
DNN off of something else. That's not always the best choice either. So, it just kind of
yeah.
depends on the scenario.
If nothing else, my aim here is to give talking points that then they can have those conversations, and before they've pulled the trigger, decide, oh, how are we going to do SSO? And aren't we connecting to Azure and SharePoint? How does WordPress connect to SharePoint after all? All of these questions that they have as again, afterthoughts. Joe Craig, you were raising your hand. You want to chime in too?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we do. Good to hear you.
Earlier this summer, I had the opportunity to upgrade an intranet site that hadn't been upgraded since 2013.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I had pretty much solved all the problems to upgrade it to DNN 9 before the .13, but it was going real well. Unfortunately, I had kind of an accident and had to turn that over to somebody else. I'm not quite sure how it ended, but I'm here, so I'm still recovering from the accident. But the good news is that you can, in fact, upgrade DNN from prehistory. It still had the it had the old menu system and a theme that
Soul
was
part menu?
Soul part, and it
Rad
had
editor, probably.
a div based theme, but yeah, and some other gotchas, but and you know what the best tool that helped doing that was?
You mean translation? What?
No, backup restore.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that one was fun, but in going back that far, when you installed a new version of DNN backup and restore, you got the old wrong version of whatever the thing is.
Newton Soft DLL.
Yeah. So you had to change Newtonsoft DLL to an older version.
Ancient versions, yes.
Yeah, it was. I spent probably a week figuring that one out, but I think the message here is that if you're persistent, you can probably upgrade any version of DNN, and I did it step by step upgrade as opposed to trying to migrate
Yeah.
to a clean version of DNN. So it was hats off to all of those people who did the work since 2013. It's fairly impressive.
Sorry you had to do it all in a few weeks for one client, but that's a really good point as well. I tell people I've never met a DNN instance I give up on, and it's because with persistence and the right steps and the right backup and the right order, you can upgrade anything.
Unfortunately, I can't make that statement, and I'll tell you who is guilty, but only privately.
All right. Well, I think that's it for our community announcements. Does anybody else from the group online tonight have any other announcements or things we need to mention? All right. Otherwise, we will kick over to David Poindexter. David is going to be presenting with us a theme tonight that does more than just show us the point of tonight's meeting. And it's one of the things I tell developers as I'm training them or I'm doing kind of internships with people. I explain that when you watch this one lesson, realize you are learning things about everything else as well. David tonight is going to walk us through building a custom DNN theme object. And he's going to be using some of the development tools and projects that you are able to also use on other types of applications for custom builds. So this here, the point is we're going to be learning about building a custom DNN theme object. But if you pay attention, you're going to be able to apply this other places as well. So David Poindexter is the head of so many different things. We've got Envision Native, we've got NV Quick Theme, NV Quick Site. We've got the DNN. Oh, I'm going to blank on it here now. The your head for the DNN. I can't remember the name of the advisory group as it's described
This
now.
is fun. This is really fun.
You are DNN strategy lead. Thank you. There we go. We thank you for putting this together and putting it out for us tonight.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. That was a lot of do-over, probably nothing here, but we'll try. So tonight, really, it's not a formal presentation. What I'd like to do, and Ryan, I'll stop your share there if you don't mind.
Yep.
What we're going to do is we're going to walk from scratch, building a custom theme object to be leveraged inside of a theme. If you don't know, this is an extension point of DNN where you can actually there's a bunch of baked in theme objects that you can use during your theme development to put into your theme, things like your login and your user controls and your copyright and various tokens that can be used. And those are skin objects behind the scenes. But you can also make your own custom theme objects. And so they used to be called skin objects. Those are one and the same here. So we're just going to walk through actually creating one from scratch. So what I would like to encourage you to do is if you're open to it and you've got an environment to do so, follow along. Let's make it a workshop kind of thing and go through it, and you'll be able to do it yourself in the same steps. So I'm not really following a script here or anything, but we're going to set an objective of having a theme object that displays the time in which your last login was. So that's the objective. It's a very simple piece of code. So that way we're not focusing too much on the code that figures that out, but we're just really kind of going through the process of setting up a theme object. So let me start sharing my screen. Hopefully I'll share the right one here. It's number 5 tonight. Okay, are you seeing the meetup in the browser? Okay, great. So what I've done here is I want to show this because if you don't know, there's several starter projects that are out on the DNN Community GitHub repo that have been created, and you'll see starter modules, you'll see starter theme object in this case. But what these are, they are not templates, so to speak. So they're not project templates like Visual Studio templates. But what they are is really kind of starter projects. They're actually working projects that you can use either for reference, or you can manually manipulate these projects to turn them into custom solutions for yourself, which is what we'll do here tonight. So I'm going to base this development off of this project here. So we're going to clone this project. I will say that there are way more modern type approaches to doing this. And different build systems. But once again, these projects are more bare bones. They don't have a lot of features or anything like that. It's really just what you need at bare minimum to be able to create, in this case, a theme object is in this project. So it leverages native build features. And by that, I mean MS Build. Is being used within Visual Studio there. So you don't have to have a third-party tool in order to do it or pull in some mysterious package from the Ethersphere. We can use the built-in functionality right within .NET. So also, if you have any questions or comments as we go through this, feel free to interrupt me. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the code button here. By the way, you'll get here at github.com/DNN Community. And then you can actually go to there, and I'll show you real quick before we jump into this. You can just type in starter, and you'll see all the various starter projects that are out here that you can use. So if you need a web API project, there's your project. It's a barebones project. If you need an MVC module, a SPA module, a web forms module is down here somewhere. There it is. How to build a theme, theme object, various different extension points are here. Not all of them by any means, but a lot of them are there that you can leverage. So we'll go back over to the starter theme object here. I'll click on the code button and grab this URL here because we're going to clone this repo to our local dev environment. I am going to assume that you know a little bit about Git, but if you don't, you can actually download the zip right here and just expand that or extract that into a folder of your choice. So I'm going to use Git to do that instead of downloading the zip. So I'm going to flip over into my PowerShell here. You could use command prompt, or you can use any other kind of terminal type window. You'll see that I'm in a directory here, C dev Southern. I've already used MV QuickSite in the past to set up a local DNN instance here, and we're actually going to use that instance to eventually pull in this theme object and so forth. But I'm gonna actually put this project in a folder at the same level of those 3 folders that MV QuickSite creates for this. So I could also put this inside of the website desktop modules folder if I wanted to. That would probably be a little bit more appropriate for inline development within DNN, but I'm on purpose going to put this outside of the DNN instance. So this could literally live anywhere on your machine, and I'm going to show you how the MS build process can be manipulated to point to a working DNN instance anywhere else on your drive. Does that make sense? Everybody following along? I'll take that as a yes. So I'm going to use git clone, and then I pasted in the URL that I just copied from that from the browser there in the GitHub repo. And if I don't do dot at the end, then it's going to actually create a folder called starter theme object there. So I'll hit return and it'll clone in there. Now, if I do a list here, you'll see that I have a new folder here, starter-theme-object. I'm going to cd into that folder, and you'll see that I have a Git repo that by default named it as master. I don't love that name, so I'm actually just going to do a git checkout-b, creating a new branch, and we're going to call this main. And then I'm going to do git branch-d to delete master, if it even exists. So now I've got a single branch and it's main. Probably should have called it develop. Nope. It's master because it was master out here and it hasn't been renamed. So I probably should have left that the same, huh? But we're not going to be making pull requests against this project here or anything like that. So, in a world where you're creating your own custom solution, you would probably want to set up your remotes for Git to be pointed to your new repo that you are using this just as a basis to get started on that. Did I lose anybody there? Because I probably went too quickly through the Git commands there. All with me? I'll take silence as a yes. All right, so let's just go ahead and start development. We'll worry about Git branching and all that kind of stuff later. I'll speak to that a little bit at the end, but we'll work off of this main branch for right now. I'm going to open up Visual Studio here. If I can find the window, and I'll drag it over here. So what we're going to do, now that we've got that in a folder, I started Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio Community version, which is free. In 2022. So I'm going to do open a project or solution, because if you'll notice, there's actually a solution file and a CS proj file right here in this. So we already have it set up as a project on the starter project. So we'll go open a project, and I will navigate to that location. If I can find my dev folder, and I've got a So Fried folder, and then there's my folder I cloned into. So we're going to choose the solution file here and open it up. And of course that opens on a different window, and give it a second to load, and I'll drag it onto this window. All right. Okay, so there we are. We've got actually a working project here already, but the first thing that we want to do before we actually run a build, just to prove that it works out of the box, is I want to show you a little bit about the MS build system here. That is located in the build scripts folder here. There is a module package.targets file. This is an MS build specific file, but what this will show you kind of how well organized it is. There's a lot in here, and it can be a little bit confusing once before you really realize what's happening. But in your custom situation, you don't really need to know too much. The way that I originally set this up is that there's some variables up here at the top in this property group here, and you can update probably just a couple of these and you're good to go. That way, the way this works is if you build the project in debug mode, and what I'm referring to is this here. So you've got debug and release for the project. If you build in debug mode, it's going to copy over the web control, the license file, the release notes, the DLL. It's going to copy it over to whatever is set up as the deploy folder here. So website folder, which is also a variable, and right now it's just pointing to website, but it would go into website, which is relevant to where we are right now. It would go there to desktop modules, theme objects, and then the name of this project. So it would actually deploy the files that are needed for source to go into there. So when you're debugging this and all that, you may want to attach the project to the process, this running the website, so that you can set breakpoints and so forth. That way you can do that. If you do release, then it's simply going to publish a zip file, which is already installable, right? It's an install package for the theme object. I'll show you right down here at the very close to the end. It actually creates this zip file. Oops, sorry. And there's some variables there that you can kind of reference those up at the top, but oh my goodness. Right there. It'll go into this path here based on the variable names that are there. But at the end, this really works out to being the, what is it called? The install. It actually builds the package to wherever the package folder is, which is here, which is package, and an install directory within it. And then you can also, the release will also put it into the install folder of the website under the skin. So if you're familiar with DNN and the available extensions kind of feature, you can actually drop an install package into install/module, install/skin, and there's a variety of folders under there. And in this case, it'll actually build it out to the skin folder for you, so that it'll be available in extensions if you want to install it from there. So in this case, I'm going to leave it the same so that it is website folder. I'm going to leave it as website. What that's going to do is what we expect it to do is wherever this project is, that's the root of the build system here. So I would expect it within, if I'm looking here and I do an ls, I would expect it to create a website folder inside of this folder and copy over all the relevant files to desktop modules and theme objects under that, and then starter-theme-object. So let's go ahead and make sure that it builds, and we'll prove or disprove what I just said. So I'll leave this in debug for the build, and then I'll do build. I like to do clean first, and then we'll do rebuild or build. I like rebuild myself. Ends about the same way. And you'll see a few warnings here, but it actually built successfully. We can look at the output here, and we can see the results of that, and it should tell us where it actually deployed that to. So I created this folder, right? And within here, it did indeed create a website folder, it looks like, with desktop modules, theme objects, which matches this up here, right? So let's go on disk and see if that is indeed true. So I'll do an ls again. Yep, there's the website folder. So if I cd into the website folder, I should have a desktop module. Yep, and notice it put the bin folder there because it was assuming that this is where I had DNN installed, right? That is not the case in reality here. I'm actually running DNN in a different path, right? So what we want to do is manipulate our MS build variable there for the website folder to be where our DNN instance actually is. Everybody follow me on this? Let me do Explorer. Oops. Didn't mean to do that.
David, silence on questions so far and no questions in chat. But if anybody brings up questions in chat, I'll come off microphone and help bring them in.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So here's the folder that we were in, right? So it put the DLL in there and the symbols file because we're in debug mode. So it assumes that we may want to attach to the process at some point and be able to debug. If I go back up one level, go into desktop modules, there's our theme objects folder. There's the folder for the actual theme object. And then there are the necessary files that needs to run: the manifest, the release notes, the license, and then of course the control that actually has the functionality in it. So we're looking good so far there. The thing is, I don't want it here, right? I don't want it in a website folder within this folder structure. I want it in one level up. So I'm going to do Shift Delete here, delete that permanently. And we want to go one level up, which would be, according to over here, up at this level. So it be in this folder is where I want it to build to. So let's go back over to MS Build. There's a couple of ways we can go about doing this. I think the quick and dirty here is if you want to control where you are, in this case I do, I would just go .. /website, and that should build to the actual working DNN instance for me in debug mode, right? So if I go here, now I do clean just for safety reasons, and then we do rebuild. I'll look at the output. Let's check out the path here and see if it's right. Dev, Southern Fried, starter theme object, and .. Yeah, we'll see if that worked out right, but it looks like it went up one directory and then website and then there, right? Let's go see what happened on disk. We would expect that now in the bin folder for the real website, it should have a starter theme object. Yep, there's our DLL and our symbol. So it looks like it's going in the right place there. And then here's our desktop modules. We should have a theme objects here. Yep, there's the theme objects. And then there's our starter theme object, and boom, there's our 4 things. So now we have a build system that in debug mode, we can just make changes here in our separate directory that's disconnected. It's outside of the DNN instance, right? We can now make changes in here and see those things reflected in the DNN instance that we're running. We're not quite to a point where we can do that yet because we need to do a little bit of development here and get something functional and get it integrated with a theme of some sort, right? Because this is a theme object after all. So any questions about the MS build? It's usually that simple, just updating the website folder, and the deploy folder will follow suit because it's based off of that website folder. Okay, the other thing I'll show from the build process is going to the release mode, and we do a build now at this point. We'll just do a rebuild here. Check out the output, and there it is. It dropped the install package for this project into website install skin. So let's go on disk and see that. If I go up to the website, we'll go into install. We'll go into skin. And there it is. There's our install package. If we were to take a look at that, it would be already figured out what it needs in order to install in DNN. So you have two different ways to kind of run things. At the end of the day, you do want to test this install, but during development, you'd probably stay in debug mode until you get all the kinks worked out, and then you would use this as kind of a final step of testing and updating your versions and all that good stuff to be able to do a release of it. So I'll go back into debug mode here before I forget. And so at this point, let's do some actual coding here to get the feature that we want. So I'm not going to worry too much about the name of this theme object right now and all that, but let's do this. Let's go to the user control here, because that's where at the end of the day, we really want the last login date for the user to be shown. So let's do a little bit of manipulation here. We've already got a label control here, an ASP.NET label control. So let me rename this. Instead of it being a message, let's call it something like last login date. And we'll leave the run at there. And yeah, that's looking pretty good to me. It can be an H2. Probably at the end of the day, it won't need to be an H2, so I may just want to remove this. Well, I'll leave it there and I'll just leave it empty because we don't know if we need to class anything yet or not. And then I want to go into the code behind for this and actually wire up whatever logic needs to happen in order to update that label. So I don't want to focus too much on the code here, but if you have any questions, just let me know. I've actually already got this developed in another screen, so I'm just really kind of pasting it over or retyping it here. I'm going to do a public string of date, public string, I said, date format, because we want to control the formatability. So I'll just accept what GitHub Copilot tells me to do there. And we'll need, that's not exactly what I want to do, GitHub Copilot. So I'll do a string of, I want to do a date label. And yep, that looks good. So a getter and a setter there for those. That's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to want to do is after the, see in the page load event here, this is part of the event lifecycle in DNN. So this control is going to hit the page load event in that lifecycle, and we want to kind of do our logic there. I want to tap into the to the base here. So right now we are inheriting from portal module base. So what we can do is we can do base.onload and we'll pass an event in there on that. And then, oh, it's actually helping me a little bit here. This is GitHub Copilot. If you haven't used that, you probably should. It's fantastic. Let me just kind of, I might want to use that as
a separate session.
Yeah, so let me get rid of this stuff here because I don't need that. So yeah, I wanted to try catch here, and I want to change my condition here. I don't want to check to see if it's a post back. I really want to, there's a few things that we can do. Let me make this simple though. I'm gonna do, right now we're just gonna set the label last login date text to something. Let me put it in a variable first. We'll do something like this. We'll do string, we'll call it final text equals, and I'm going to do, let's see what it's telling me here. Is that pretty close to what I want? Yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty close. Let's see, is null or empty is definitely what I want to do. We want to check the date label because this property is good. So what we're looking at here is these are two properties that are going to be on the skin object itself or the theme object itself. So when you implement it into the theme itself, you'll have these two as properties to access. So we want to be able to control the date format or, have a fallback for it. And we also want to control what the label name is. And I just realized I've typoed that. So let me fix that. So yeah, we want to see if the date label is null or empty. And if it is not null or empty, then we want it to display whatever is in there. Maybe plus, yeah, that looks pretty good actually. We'll just want it to display that. And oh, my keyboard just did something funny there. What am I doing here? Looks like I've got an insert here accidentally. There we go. Otherwise, let's display nothing, maybe. Sounds good. And we've got some red squigglies here, but we need to see what that is here. Indicates whether a specification is.
I think you used a minus, not an equal sign.
Oh yeah, that's right. Good catch there. Good eye. And this is not looking like it knows it, so does not exist in the current context. Oh, I put these in the wrong place. These have to be, well, they are public. This I could change to protected. And kind of want this to be an override, void. I'm in the wrong place. What the heck am I doing? No, that was right. Oh, I got it in the wrong place. Okay, I know what I'm doing. This needs to be inside the class here. There.
That's better.
Yep, wasn't even paying attention to where I was there. This is what I was trying to change. Protected. And this can be an override. Void and page load. It should be probably on load in this case. We'll tap into the load event for some reason, and all I need is event args on this one. And why is that complaining to me?
So you have on line 14 and 15, you have semicolons that shouldn't be there.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah,
sure if that's the error,
good
but it
catch.
might report the wrong thing because of that. And then you can hover to see what it's complaining about.
Let's see here. No suitable method found to override. Oh, probably because I don't have the you gotta love live development, right?
Try between 15 and 17 to just type override space and see what it suggests. Just override space, and it should list you things. Oh, it doesn't list you space. There. Unload event args. Pick it and then move your code into it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a casing issue with the L of load, I think.
That's it. Yep, that's it. Yep. Good eye.
There we go. Now we can delete.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. What
Oh,
would we
welcome.
do without you? Okay, so we've got that. StyleCop's probably going to complain about this. And then what we need to do here now that we've got the final text, we're going to want to probably deal with the formatting of the text. So we'll just do something like, that's a good start. Let's see. So if it is not null or empty, then let's grab the user info dot membership dot last login date, not last activity date, last login date dot toString. And this is where we would pass in the date format from our skin object. And then otherwise, what we want to do is user info dot membership dot last login date and dot toString, and let me make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Yeah, I think that's it right there. Oops, I forgot the there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And then I think we're good. We just need to manipulate this. Let me get this out of my way here. Oops, too much. Yeah, now you see why I didn't want to do too much code because it takes too long. We just want to use final text here. So walking this through, these are the two parameters that we've got on the skin object, and we want to check and see if we have a value for the date label. If we don't, then just go ahead and, if we do, go ahead and set it to that date label. Otherwise, we're going to use nothing there. And then we want to use the date format. We want to check and see if we have a specified date format. If we don't, then we want to use the date format, and then otherwise nothing at all there. Just grab the last login date and convert it to a string and use the default formatting for that instance. The thing that I'm missing here is I don't have that instance of the, yep, I'm totally missing this. Let me see, we're gonna have to do a var. We don't have user info. So let's grab get user. Nope, we want to get current user. Info, and we don't need any parameters on that one. And I probably need to do a using for this. So that is .NET new .entities .users will give us access to the user controller. And then we probably want to wrap this with if user info dot user ID is not equal to -1. So -1 would be the host account. Then we want to do, oops, we need to move this stuff into there. And I think that's it right there. That looks like the code we need to use there. This looks okay to me. So I think actually our skin object is really done as far as the functionality that we want to accomplish there. So let's just build it and make sure we don't have any errors there. I think we're good. Yep, looking good there. It built just fine, super fast. So now what we need to do is we need to plug this into a theme and see it actually working, right? So there's a few things that we can do. Let me see what theme we've got on this instance. So if I go into, where am I at? Need to go into portals. Let's go into _default, go into skins. It looks like we've got Exilion here. You know, we can make a copy of Exilion if we want to and use that. Or in this case, I'm going to blow this away anyway. So I'm going to just use Exilion. So I'll open this up in VS Code. And we'll just manipulate one of the controls there for the layouts. Okay. So I think we're probably using home on the home page. So let's double check and make sure before I do the work here. So here is the instance. Let me log in. Probably have to wake it up here. Any questions so far? Everybody awake or asleep? It's so interesting, David. Thank you.
Yay.
So interesting, David. Thank you. I want the afternoon off now.
Oops. All right, here we go. Let's log in. I hope I know my password. Hey, it worked. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go and make sure that this is using the home layout. I think it is. We'll go into page settings for this. Double check here, advanced appearance, and yep, the home one. So we're going to use the home layout and just modify it to use our new skin object. Sound like a plan, right? me go to here so I can get my notes. Go back over to VS Code. All right, so now we're in the home layout of Exilion here. You would obviously be doing this in your own custom theme or whatever other theme you're using. If you do Exilion, don't do as I do here. Make a copy of Exilion so that it's custom and you're not manipulating the core Exilion. But for the sake of time, I figured I'd just do it this way. So we need to find a place that we want to display the last login date. So maybe looking at the visual here, maybe we'll just put it right in, I don't know, header pane right above this, maybe. Sounds like a good place to me. So let's find the header pane. There's the header pane. So let's just put a row in here. Div class. We got to give it a, we'll do row. And then we'll call this, I don't know, last login pane or something like that. Oops, that's not what I want. I don't want class there. I want a, do I want to wrap this? Yeah, it'll give us a little bit more control. We'll do div run at server and oops, and ID equals something like last login. Oh, we don't really need a pane, do we? Yeah, we don't need a pane. We just need to put our skin object in here. So let's do that. So the skin object will be, there's two pieces of this, but let's go up to the top where we do our registers here. We'll need to register our theme object. So we'll do at, percent at register tag prefix. We'll do something like equals, we'll just use DNN. That sounds good. That'll be consistent with the other theme objects, but you can call this whatever you want to there. The tag name, we're going to do something unique for this. So something like user last login. And then it's already kind of telling me it's, based off of convention where it would be. That's not exactly correct. So we'll want to do source equals and then tilde. Let me go find my tilde. Is that tilde? Yep, tilde. This will be in desktop modules / theme objects is where we're building to. And then user last login is not the name of our control. Our name of our control is what? Let me go back over here. For right now, it's just my underscore theme underscore object. We probably would want to change this in the end. So we could change this now, I suppose. What do you guys think? I think we should. That's probably something you would want to do. So user last login. That should change everything for us. Now up here, we need to change inherits. Here, got to make sure I don't screw this up. You would typically have your namespace here. So I think that's actually right. And then this is the name of the control. User last login dot. No, that's all right. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
User last login. I think that'll work. And code behind, that looks right. Yeah, that looks good to me. We might run into a small issue there, but we will fix it when we get to it. Yeah, I think that's right. That look right to you, Daniel? Yep, I think that's right.
Yes. I would use the same casing on the namespace there, starter.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get into the namespace changing because we'll have to spend a little bit of time with that. I want to circle back to that though, because yeah, you're right. Obviously, this will need to be your own. In a real world scenario, you'd want to rename your project and your namespace and all that. Okay, so now back over here. Where were we? The home. Oh yeah, I was registering it. Yep. So here, now that makes sense. And we can do ASCX there because that is the control for it. And that looks good. We can save that. So now it's registered. Now we can use it using the prefix and the tag name. So the way this works is you would have here, oh, sorry, my cursor doing funny things. We would have DNN because that's our prefix, and then user last login. Yep, that's looking pretty good. We can give it an ID if we want to. Let me see, ID. We'll just stick with the same naming convention of that and then run out server. And then we've got two properties that we can use that we defined as public properties. So we can use date label and set that to whatever we want. So something like last login, colon, sounds good. And then we want it to show after that, which tells me, yeah, we probably will want to style it so that we can get a little spacing in there. Of course, you could hack it and, just put a space here. We could probably do that for right now. And then we want to use the date format. Now, this one's a tricky one because we want it to follow the conventions that it's using over in our C# here. So let's look here. So you can pass in a format here. So we would have to go and look in the documentation to see, what that format really is, but you'll recognize it when I start typing it. We can use something like for month /DD/YYYY, which is probably not what Daniel would use in Canada, but that's okay. And we'll do something like hours and seconds here.
Wrong.
So how would you do it? You would do comma, DD, I don't know what you would do. Like that, comma, that.
So like we go in order. So it's either year, month, day, or day, month, year, not medium and like small and like medium, small and big,
So you would do this, right?
Day, month, year, yeah.
Yeah.
Or year, month, day.
We'll just let everybody cringe here. So
yes.
I've saved this file now. So
I'm surprised Alessandra kept quiet.
She's agreeing with me.
I'm a very quiet person.
No, that is, yep, not. Okay, so here, this is probably not going to be pretty, but I'm actually expecting this to work. I just need to rebuild the project, right? Because we did change the name of it and we didn't build after that. So let's do a rebuild on that. Now we got an error, right? So let's see what the error is. Label last login date does not exist in the current context. That means I did not wire this up properly. So what are we doing wrong here? This is the starter underscore theme underscore object.
So either the designer file got confused.
Yeah, I might have to close it and reopen it. That's possible.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. So if it fixes by opening, closing, good. If not, the designer file might have been confused there. Nope.
Got it. I think that fixed it. So we'll try it again and see if that's the problem. Nope, that's not the problem. So evidently I've referenced it wrong. So we'll fix it. Is it dash here instead of underscore? Let's see. What is our namespace? Because that's what matters. My underscore theme object. That's probably the problem.
No. I know. I see. So you see, you have starter theme object. That's your namespace. Your class was not renamed. You renamed the file, but not the class name.
Correct.
So that one needs to be called user last login.
Something like that. Yeah. Or view. I tell you what, let's follow convention here and let's make this view.
No, it has to match user last login.
Not here. It has to be the same. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay. Where am I at? Here. We can do user last login.
Yeah, because the class is partial, it gets merged with the designer,
So now it's namespace dot the class.
Yes, which was fine. And the designer file, is it also in code user last login?
Now it is.
So you see the class was partial, so they both need to match in names.
makes sense now.
Mm.
So build, we'll do a clean and rebuild. Okay, yay, it worked this time. So output, yep, it put it over there. So theoretically, if I refresh the page, because we updated the home template, we should get the last login date for my currently logged in user there. I could probably close this too. Drum roll, please. Yep, did not work. So let's go and make sure it's in the DOM here. We've got this, it's above the header pane. So it should be right there. Yeah, no, for some reason that didn't show up. Did I not save the file? Over here, I did save the file. So save home.ascx. That looks right to me. I am in the right file, right? This is Southern Fried website portals. Yep, I'm in the right one. Refresh. Okay. Oh, we've got an error up at the top. So
There we go.
file does not exist. So yeah, we've got a reference somewhere, probably messed up on the registration. So up here, I'll go up and check my registration. Tilde, desktop modules, theme objects. I think I'm missing something here. What is the path again? Let's go here. Oh, not that path, sorry, in the build. We'll go to the build, desktop modules. Oh,
There we go.
there we go. Yeah, we need to build it to the, well, no, that's actually right.
One level up.
Oh, I missed this one here. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so here, we've got one more folder in here.
Oh, or that.
So there, now save, go back over here, refresh, and we should be okay now. Yep, boom, there it is, except for the Y. Everything, and the DD didn't work.
Interesting. Oh, I think it's
That is
lowercase.
interesting.
Could it be lowercase? DD lowercase and
SS.
Well,
Looking
here is
back.
lowercase. I'm not sure about.
yeah, I think it's out of the box lowercase. They made differences because you can have days and something, and you can have minutes and months.
Yeah, I may have done that wrong. Let's see.
I think
DD and
and minutes. I
The
think
minutes
so.
was okay, right? So
I think that's fine.
month was okay, and the minutes is okay. Yep, there we go. So
Okay. And then you
so-
have hours and SS.
yep.
So that should be HHMM,
Oh yeah. Good
right?
catch.
And
Well, I wanted
MM.
both.
Yeah, so MM uppercase will be minutes, but MM lowercase will be month. And we need to fix
Oh,
both.
that's what it is. Yeah,
There
okay.
we go.
So that
And I don't think SS.
that'd be seconds. Yep.
Mm,
Oh no, it's showing SS. I don't
I
know.
think it's back to
Maybe.
lowercase then.
DD, maybe?
I think it's SS lowercase.
Oh, maybe.
I think
Yeah, that's not confusing at all, is it?
at all. There we
Oh,
go.
there he is. Okay,
Does that make sense?
so you may say, well, is that correct? So let's go and see. So that doesn't really make sense to me because that would be the 30th month. So that must not be right. Let's
Yeah, I
go
think
back
month
to
is
capital.
uppercase.
So we need to, oops.
Yeah, it might be the opposite. Yeah. And that one is lower. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Let's try that and see. So
that
9/19,
makes
so that would be
sense.
September the 19th, which is today, right? At 7:30 p.m. So let's go and look at
It makes sense.
users, and I'll show you where you can double check this, right? You can go in here, go to, I think it's the gear. Yep, gear. So last login date, it should match this. And that doesn't have the seconds, but yep, that's correct. 7:30 p.m. Now we could play with the date format to get that not be a military time, and that kind of thing. But we have a working theme object now and kind of gone full circle there. So Yeah, we had a few bumps along the way, but it's pretty simple. And I think I'll ask for questions now, but I've got a couple little things to finish it up here at the end. But anybody have any questions on the build process, on the project itself, how you would use it, something that didn't make sense when I was going through it?
Yeah, I like that as a question. Anybody looking at it that is interested in other types of things that you might get that are, I don't know, similar types of simple data that you could get. People's last login, people's user and or profile information. There's all kinds of simple, low level or low hanging fruit that you can grab to put in here.
Yeah, because we really only have just a few lines of code here that I had to kind of figure out. This is by standard, how you expose the properties. So that's pretty cool. So you can do any properties you want to, right? So we could do something like, public string foo and do a getter and setter on it. And then if we wanted to, we could say something like, foo. Let's go with foo plus final text or something like that, or do, right? I mean, this is just stupidity to show you kind of how easy that is, right? So we've got a property here, and if it was defined, it would show right there, right? So we can build this, and we'll do a rebuild, make sure it builds. That's great. Now we'll go back into our theme. Now we can put in a foo property and put something like asdiff in here, right? Save, and that should inject it as a prefix in front of last login there. And you may be wondering why it's having to recycle. Well, the theme object has a DLL associated with it, so it caused an app recycle there. So there's our asdiff. So if we change this in our theme object to something else,
Why
set
did
it
you
to
create
foo.
a custom property called foo?
That is how you expose the property in the actual object, is through that public property. This right here is what makes that property wire up.
No, I meant create a profile property called foo and use that instead of what you did.
A profile property.
It's a user in the user profile.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do anything you want to. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. This is a silly example, but it's just to show how to expose a property on it. That doesn't really make sense for what we're doing here, but just illustrating the feature there.
It could be hello user info dot first name, for
Yeah.
instance. It could be whatever.
In the project we recently did this on, we wrapped, I'll show you kind of what we did to make this, like, you wouldn't want to, like, if you're not logged in, you wouldn't want this to be shown, right? Because you're not a user.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrapped this with, let me put it here, do something like if this dot request dot is authenticated equals true, then so this, and then all this was in there. And yes, I know there's a shortcut to do that, and I never can remember it because I don't work in Visual Studio too much. But we did that, basically said, hey, if you're not authenticated, then don't show it at all. And we can rebuild this. And what we would expect is it not to blow up in our face when we log out. So I'll just refresh here. And just as a refresher, when I rebuild there, I'm in debug mode, so it's immediately deploying that DLL, right? So it's showing still. Now, if I log out, it shouldn't show, and it doesn't. So yeah, we got a working theme object there.
Admitted it's running slow because you have 19 monitors now.
It's true. And there we are. Now you may be saying, well, I just logged in again. Why is that number not the time that I just logged in? Well, that wasn't my last login. So it matches what the DNN API is telling it is the last login for this user, which is still that time.
It'd be interesting, if you don't mind, clear the cache on the site and see if it changes.
Shouldn't. They did though. You're right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's what I figured. I've had so many problems with caching in the last few months. It's the first
Actually, you
thought I
just
always
exposed a
have.
bug there. That's a good catch, Jeremy. So maybe we should do something in the code, to force the clearing of the cache in there, which we can do in this context. So not a problem. Yeah, it's a good catch. So I
And
think,
don't forget all the different places it could be cached. It might be DNN, it might be Cloudflare, it might be something else. You never know. It's an onion nowadays.
indeed,
Layers.
it's like in your real world, situation, you probably wouldn't call this starter theme object, wouldn't have a namespace that way.
Right.
So, you can go through the process of renaming things. There's not a whole lot in here to do, but it does touch several areas. You can, of course, do this. What is it? Control RR, Daniel? Control Shift RR?
It's RR in Visual Studio.
Yeah, there it is.
Name
So
everywhere.
you can rename it everywhere to something like you would have, client dot maybe theme object to show the kind of module or kind of extension it is, and then maybe user last login. In this case, we already named the class user last login, but I'll do it like this and then enter to rename. I did enter, but it's not doing anything.
You got a warning.
Yeah, it's not accepting this.
It's probably because the class name. Here, I'll do something. I'll just copy
I'm
this.
thinking maybe client is reserved or conflicts with another namespace. Is that possible?
I don't know.
Acme. No. Try to
I think it's
remove
because
everything and start.
Give me just a second. I'm going to do this way. I'm going to do escape. I'm going to change this to view. And then up here, Control RR, and then paste that back in. Oh, it's still not letting me. That's interesting.
Well, something is strange. Erase everything and start just AC. See where it starts getting red. Okay, so far so good.
Oh,
okay. So yeah, so basically you don't have an Acme namespace, so you can do Acme dot something yet. Unless you have something that is that namespace.
So probably we would start at the project properties up here and
something like that with a default namespace.
Go here to properties on the project. We'll change names, default namespace here.
Yeah.
To something like acme.theme.
Nope, it can't.
Object.
Can you?
I think it can, yeah.
Maybe.
Do that there, and then an assembly name. We'll probably use user we could do something like user last login, something like that. May want to prefix it with Acme or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of options.
S, and then now we probably could go ahead and rename the project too if we wanted to do that. Paste that in there. We'll call this user last log, or we could call it the whole thing if we wanted to. Different ideas on that, but we'll just do the whole thing. That doesn't matter too much there. And then now we should be able to do this, Control RR, and then paste, and it still does not want me to do that.
No, so you can do a word dot another word unless it's a child of that namespace. So because there's nothing that exists for the Acme namespace, you cannot do Acme dot something. Let's say
Literally
you want to
looking at my
do,
other project and I did that. So
yes, but let's take .NET Nuke. Something needs to leave on .NET Nuke before you can do .NET Nuke dot web or .NET Nuke dot whatever. So like if you, I mean, I think that's the issue.
I don't think so because I looking at the other project. Oh, I just realized this is portal module based. That's why. This should be skin object based. I need to fix that on the template. Yep. And then I probably need a namespace for that. Yep. Now, still can't do it. Yeah, that's weird. I have to close it and reopen it or something. But anyways, you would go through that process and rename it. It's a little bit harder because it's manual, you know, and you'll run into little issues like this you have to go through, but definitely possible. Again, it's not a template, but it's a good starting point to learn how to do this stuff and, you know, use all that. I have issues here now too. Don't know why. I just ran into that issue there as well. Huh. Interesting. All right. I mean, that's pretty much it. So hope that helps some of you. You can now start dreaming of ways that you could use a skin object and leverage it in your themes.
David, that was a lot of quiet in response, but it was a good walkthrough. And anytime that a developer is going to jump in and show us on the fly a working session as a hangout, you wait for the call for shots when there are problems or errors, and
That's right.
that wasn't bad at all. That was pretty straightforward. We didn't double back any times. It was good. Good show.
Indeed.
I was going to sidetrack you and say, hey, while you're in Zillion, why don't you show us how to rip out Bootstrap 3?
Oh, that's easy.
Right.
Yeah,
Turn
it'll
it
break,
into
it'll break
another
everything,
session.
but yeah, you can rip it out. Yeah.
And oh, I forgot to say the part where you replace it with something. Okay, good.
Oh, that, yeah, no, that's a little more,
Yeah, a
that's
little bit more
bigger
work there.
proposition. Yeah.
No, that was excellent because I often end up just with some code right in my theme module, and you lose reusability when you do it in your .ascx files. If you create them as these theme objects, you know, I've done it once or twice, and then anyhow, I feel like we miss out on a lot of reusability by the way we kind of just hack it every time.
Yeah, you can
That was
certainly do
really
that.
nice to see.
You can take that same code and just plop it into the layout itself, right?
Yeah.
And do this, but like you say, you would have to copy and paste that same code elsewhere, and if you needed
Oh,
it
and we do
multiple
that.
layouts, yeah. Prone for human error, right?
Yeah. Paste it in place and like, well, why isn't it working?
Indeed.
Well, we're coming up on 8 o'clock. I think that's an excellent Southern Fried user group meeting timeline. Good session. Thank you, David, for organizing and presenting and running So Fry and daily working in DNN and making contributions and running the show. It's almost like DNN's part of your name. We should call you DNN Dave.
That's a good idea.
I think that name is
Ring
taken.
to it.
David, thank you so much for being awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up the meeting, anyone else have items to add in or to mention? Otherwise, we'll break here for the end of the Southern Fried user group meeting.
Since we have so many people here, why don't we just go ahead and get a volunteer for next month's meetup?
What I was going
who
to
wants
say,
to
yeah.
be on the hot seat?
October the 17th is our next Southern Fried meeting. That's the third Thursday of every month. Coming up ahead, we've got October the 17th. We've got November the 21st. I'll kind of ask out loud what we're planning for Thanksgiving and what we're breaking for or not breaking for that. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it looks like we're still set for November the 21st for So Fry, and then end of the year, December the 19th, we'll have our Southern Fried DNN Christmas party, where we'll have a game show and have a little bit of fun for that. But that means we've got 2 meetups ahead this year, and then we've got 2025 where we need to book people to make suggestions, come and volunteer to speak and present. I've had all kinds of folks pop up recently and say hi and talk about DNN things they've been doing recently. And you know, when I talk with folks like Mike Smeltzer and other folks we haven't seen in a while, and I say, hey, what have you been doing? Why don't you come make a presentation? Everyone gets quiet real fast. But we don't bite, and these are always good hangouts to share ideas, pitch concepts, and show us what you've been doing in DNN lately. Well, David, any other things to add in? Otherwise, controls are yours, and we stop and we finish for the night.
All right, great. Well, have a good night, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, DNN community.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you most of all, David Poindexter.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.